Hi, this is the voice of Heidie Calero with another fascinating economic capsule on the Puerto Rico economy. This time we have entitled our capsule as Crashing the Housing Market. Remember that this podcast is also part of the service of Puerto Rico Economic Pulse, one of our services in terms of sharing this economic analysis. Today we are going to talk about the sale of existing and new housing units as per the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Institutions. The first graph that I'm depicting for you depicts the sale of housing units in Puerto Rico, whereby the blue segments, this is annual, calendar year, the blue segment are the new housing units, and the orange segment is refers to the sale of existing units. And notice that in 2010, according to the Office of Commissioner of Financial Institutions, Puerto Rico sold 13,848 units, of which 10,371 units were existing units, and about 3,477 units were new housing units. Let's look forward to 2022, and this time, even though this is not exactly the calendar year, we have annualized the behavior of the first 6 months of calendar year 2022, and we said, what if they behave the same during these first 6 months for the next 6 months until December 31st, and then we would have a sale of 11,516 units, of which 10,426, almost similar to what was happening in 2010, would be existing housing units, but there is a reduction of almost a third in terms of new housing units. It's now 1,090 compared to the 3,477 new housing units in 2010. That is even though if we were to compare this 2022 with the previous year, it would imply that new housing units increased by 7%, by 71 units, but the existing units would be down by 15%, or almost 1,842 units. Let's look at the price of new housing versus existing units. Again, the orange line refers to existing units, sale of existing units, and the blue line is the sale of new housing units. Again, on an annual basis, 2010 through 2022, and analyzing 2022, the first 6 months of 2022 through December of 2022. And that implies that the price of existing units would still continue its upward trend. Since 2017, we've seen this upward trend. And compared with the previous year, with 2021, the price of existing units grew 3%. However, notice how interesting the new housing units, even though they were also depicting an upward pattern of escalating prices, in 2022 annualized, I emphasize that annualized, it seems that there is a reduction of slightly 7% to $228,273. It's still lower than what it was in 2010, but it's still higher than the existing units. And of the existing units, this next graph depicts the share. As of the first 6 months of 2022, Puerto Rico sold 5,758 units. 91% were existing units, the orange segment that you see there, and only about 545 units, or 9%, were new units, which is that blue sliver that you see there. Then going on to one of the factors that is important in terms of the building of new housing units, it's what's happening with construction jobs. Notice our record was April of 2007, just before the recession, or the year of our depression, I should say, in Puerto Rico's economic activity, or real GNP. We had 103,000 skilled construction workers. Today, as of June 2022, the Department of Labor says that we have 64,000 jobs in construction, and not all of them have the skills that those 103,000 jobs or workers had in April of 2007. So we have difficulties in terms of getting the labor needed to rebuild Puerto Rico after Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017, after the earthquakes in 2020, and then all that has happened after the pandemic. We don't still see much of those federal funds that will be coming for the reconstruction or after the earthquakes or the rescue after the pandemic, that they will be coming for Puerto Rico's rebuilding. Those funds are scarcely 30% of those funds, almost $79 billion have been dispersed in Puerto Rico. So very slow, and certainly we have a handicap in terms of a shortage of skilled workers in construction. Let's look at another factor here, which is the foreclosure of residential units. And again, this is on an annual basis. 2012, all these columns in green that you see there, through 2022, again annualizing the what has been happening from January through June of 2022 as a pattern that would continue through the end of December 2022. And as you see there, there would be 2,896 units that will be repossessed with an average price in terms of that debt, average debt of $112,000. Compare that with 2012, when we had 3,859 units that were repossessed with an average more or less higher than what we have seen in 2022. If we were to compare this with 2021, with the prior year, the average debt of these repossessed units were $124,000, compared with today's on an annualized basis of $112,000. So that really goes to the heart. If Puerto Rico doesn't grow, there must be economic growth. There must be this job market must be so hot that everybody who wants to have a job can find it at the average salary that they want. And that is still not happening in Puerto Rico. Bankruptcy, renegotiation of the public debt has taken place, but still the biggie, the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, has not been renegotiated. And then finally, what's happening in terms of the future is that interest rates are going up because prices, inflation still has not cooled down. And we heard that today that prices in the States were not as low in terms of the CPI as expected. So the markets crashed yesterday. And certainly the Federal Reserve is not going to be relenting anytime soon. In fact, they are expecting those interest rates to go up. And here I'm depicting for you the quarterly mortgage rates, whereby the blue line is the 10-year Treasury bond rate, which is sort of the bellwether for mortgage rates and other interest rates. But I'm focusing on mortgage rates. The red line is the FHA 30-year mortgage, and the green line is the non-conforming 30-year loans, mortgage loans. So you see the relative stability in terms of those mortgage rates, with interest rates 2.5%, 2.73% in terms of that 10-year Treasury bond. Well, that is all changing. After the pandemic, it went even further down, but now it's rearing its ugly head, that it's increasing. And even analysts are forecasting that by June of 2023, we could have somewhere in the region of 4.24%. And that would imply that we could have mortgage rates of non-conforming maybe at 7%, and the FHA at 6.1%. So not good news. If you're going to refinance or going to buy housing unit, do it now. There are not many housing units that are being built, and the ones that are being built are higher prices. There is a lower purchasing power in terms of wages or income, and certainly the rise in interest rates are going to reduce even further this market. If you like our economic capsules, don't forget to subscribe to the Voice of Heidie Calero on YouTube. Give us a like and tell others, your friends, other relatives, and other people that you know to really focus and to subscribe to the Voice of Heidie Calero every Thursday on a weekly basis. And don't forget, the economy is all of us. Thank you.